Hey guys, tonight we're not just telling a story, we're putting you in the worn boots of a woman history barely remembers, Laura Ingalls. But forget the TV show. Forget the sanitized books your teacher made you read. We're going back to October 1880, to a tiny settlement called De Smet in Dakota Territory, where the sky turned grey one afternoon and didn't clear for 7 months. Drop your city and the time you're watching in the comments. I want to know who else is here, cosy under blankets, about to discover what cold really means. Now, close your eyes, feel the warmth around you, the safety. Remember it, because you're about to lose it. You wake up on October 15th, 1880, and something feels wrong. The air tastes metallic, sharp, like the sky is holding its breath. You're Laura Ingalls, 40 years old, former schoolteacher, mother of 4 living children and 1 dead son you still dream about. Your hands ache from yesterday's laundry. Your back aches from hauling water. Everything aches, but that's just Tuesday. You're standing in the doorway of a building that isn't quite a home yet, more like a wooden box above a store on Main Street, De Smet. The town is 75 people and a railroad line. That's it. No hospital, no real law, just families like yours, gambling that this empty prairie will become something. Your husband Charles is outside checking the sky with that look he gets, the one that says he's calculating odds you won't like. Your eldest daughter Mary, 16, is sitting by the window, her eyes clouding with the sickness that will steal her sight. Laura, 14, is grinding wheat in the coffee mill because you've already learned to stretch food. Carrie, 10, is watching you like she always does, looking for reassurance you don't entirely feel. And baby Grace, just 3 years old, is clinging to your skirt, thumb in her mouth. The wind picks up. It doesn't howl yet. It whispers, like it's warning you. You step outside. The temperature has dropped 20 degrees since noon. Your breath fogs. Your fingers tingle. And then you see it. A wall of grey-white moving across the prairie like a living thing. Not clouds. Not fog. Snow. The blizzard hits at 4:47 p.m. 1 minute you can see the neighbour's house 50 yards away. The next you can't see your own hand in front of your face. The wind doesn't gust. It screams. It tears at your dress, your hair, your skin. Snow doesn't fall. It flies horizontally, pelting your face like tiny frozen knives. Charles shouts something, but you can't hear him over the wind. He grabs your arm, pulls you back inside and slams the door. The building shudders. Snow is already piling against the threshold. 1 inch, 2 inches, 6 inches in the time it takes to catch your breath. Welcome to the long winter. 7 months of blizzards. 7 months where the railroad won't run, supplies won't come, and your family of 6 will survive on ground wheat and twisted hay fires. 7 months where the temperature will drop to 40 below zero, where you'll watch your children's cheeks hollow, where you'll lie awake at night calculating how many more days the food will last. 7 months where you'll discover that survival and living are 2 very different things. But here's what the books won't tell you. You're not just fighting the weather, you're fighting the architecture of 1880s domestic labour. A system so brutal, so relentless, that even without a blizzard, it was killing women your age at an alarming rate. You're fighting a food supply that collapsed before you even knew it was fragile. You're fighting a medical reality where a simple infection could mean death, where frostbite meant amputation, where prairie madness was driving women to walk into snowstorms and not come back. And you're fighting this with tools that would make a modern person weep. No running water, no central heating, no antibiotics, no phone, no grocery store, no safety net of any kind. Let me be clear. You wouldn't survive this. Not because you're weak, because you lack the specific skill set that Laura Ingalls spent 40 years building. The skill set that started when she was a child hauling water, when she learned to bake bread without yeast packets, when she memorised which roots won't poison you and which animal fat burns longest in a lamp. You think you'd manage because you've done Whole30 or watched survival YouTube videos or gone camping that one time. Caroline would watch you die in a week. Let's talk about what you're up against, the town that barely exists. De Smet isn't a town, it's a hope. 75 people, maybe 80 on a good day. Most of them arrived in the last 2 years, lured by railroad promises of fertile land and opportunity. The buildings are raw lumber, no insulation, gaps in the walls you can see daylight through. Main Street is a dirt path that turns to mud when it rains and freezes into ruts when it doesn't. There's a general store, a surveyor's office, a few scattered homesteads on the prairie. That's it. No church yet, no school building, no doctor. The nearest real town is 40 miles away, and in winter 40 miles might as well be 400. Your family's living above the store because Charles took a job as a clerk to make ends meet. The room is maybe 15 by 20 feet. 6 people. 1 small cast iron stove, 2 beds, a table. That's all the space you have. In summer, this felt cozy. Pioneer spirit. Making do. In winter, this space will become a prison. A cold, dark, shrinking prison where the walls press in and the silence gets so heavy you can taste it. The blizzard that wouldn't stop. That first blizzard on October 15th should have been a warning. It should have been a sign to pack up, head back east, quit while you still could. But you don't. Because you're not a quitter. Because Charles promises it'll get better. Because you've survived bad winters before. Wisconsin winters, Minnesota winters. How much worse could Dakota be? So much worse. The blizzard lasts 3 days. When it finally stops, the snow is waist deep. Drifts are piled 10, 12 feet high against buildings. The railroad tracks are buried. Charles and the other men try to dig them out, but the snow is dense, heavy, exhausting. They make progress. Then another blizzard hits, and another, and another. By November, you've stopped counting. The blizzards blend together into one endless, howling nightmare. Sometimes there's a break, a day, maybe 2, where the sky clears and the sun comes out, weak and pale. You take those days to gather twisted hay from the prairie, to check on neighbours, to haul water from the well before it freezes solid. Then the wind picks up again, and you're back inside, stuffing rags into the cracks around the door, praying the stove doesn't go out. Here's what you need to understand about cold. Real cold. Not turn up the thermostat cold. Not wear a sweater cold. 40 below zero cold. At 40 below, exposed skin freezes in less than 10 minutes. Your breath crystallizes in the air and falls to the ground like tiny glass beads. The moisture in your nose freezes instantly when you inhale. Your eyelashes stick together if you blink too long. Metal burns your skin if you touch it. And that's outside. Inside. Even with the stove going, the temperature barely reaches 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see your breath. Water left in a cup overnight freezes solid. Frost forms on the walls, inside the walls, because the moisture from your breath condenses and freezes. You scrape it off in the morning and use it for washing. You sleep in all your clothes, coats, shawls, everything. You pile every quilt, blanket, and spare piece of fabric on top of the bed and still wake up shivering. Grace sleeps between you and Charles for warmth. The older girls huddle together. Nobody sleeps well. The cold is a living thing. It presses against you, seeps into your bones, makes your joints ache and your muscles cramp. And the stove. God, the stove. In a normal winter, you'd burn wood or coal. You'd keep a good supply stacked outside, bring it in as needed. Keep the fire going steady. But this isn't a normal winter. The last train came through in late December. It brought a little coal, but not enough. By January, the coal is gone. So you burn hay. Not nice, dry, bundled hay. Twisted prairie hay. Stalks you and the girls gather from the open prairie, twist into tight bundles and feed into the stove. It burns fast. Too fast. One bundle might last 30 minutes if you're lucky. That means someone has to tend the fire constantly. Twisting hay, feeding the stove, twisting more hay. It becomes your entire life. Twist hay, feed fire, twist hay, feed fire. Your hands blister. Your fingers crack and bleed from the rough stalks. The smoke from the hay is thick and choking. It fills the room, burns your eyes, coats everything in a grey film. But you keep twisting, because if the fire goes out, you die. the food that isn't there. Let's talk about what you're eating, or rather, what you're not eating. Before the blizzards hit, you had supplies: flour, potatoes, some dried meat, a little butter. Not a lot, but enough for a normal winter. You'd planned to buy more when the trains came through. The trains always came through, except they didn't. The last train arrived on December 24th, 1880. The conductor said another would come in a few days. It didn't. The snow was too deep. The drifts in the railroad cuts were 40 feet high, solid walls of snow that no plough could clear. The trains stopped running. For 4.5 months, no trains. That means no supplies, no flour, no meat, no butter, no sugar, no coffee, no kerosene, no medicine. Nothing. By January, the store is empty. Every family in town is rationing whatever they have left. You've been stretching your flour for weeks, baking smaller loaves, using less each day. Now, the flour is gone. So is the meat. So are the potatoes. So is everything except a sack of wheat. Not flour. Wheat. Whole kernels. Hard, dry, inedible unless you grind it. You have a coffee mill. It's designed to grind coffee beans, not wheat, but it's all you have. So every day, Laura sits at the table and grinds wheat. It takes an hour to grind enough for one small loaf of bread. The mill jams. The kernels are too hard. Her arm aches, but she keeps grinding because that bread is all you have. You mix the coarse flour with water, no yeast, no salt, no butter. You shape it into a flat loaf and bake it on the stove. It comes out dense, heavy, almost black. It tastes like dust and bitterness, but it fills your stomach and that's all that matters. One loaf, every day, for 6 people. You divide it carefully. Grace gets the biggest piece because she's small and needs to grow. The girls get equal shares. Charles gets enough to keep working. You take the smallest piece and tell everyone you're not hungry. You're always hungry. Your stomach cramps. Your head aches. Your body is eating itself, burning muscle and fat because there's no food coming in. You feel weak, dizzy. Your thoughts slow down. You forget things, simple things, like where you put the cup, like what day it is. This is starvation, not dramatic movie starvation. Slow, grinding, relentless starvation. And the worst part? You don't know when it will end. The wheat might last another month, maybe 2. But what if the trains don't come? What if this winter lasts longer than anyone thought? What if the wheat runs out and there's nothing left? What do you do then? The labour that never ends. Let's say you've accepted the cold. Let's say you've accepted the hunger. You still have to manage the household, because the work doesn't stop just because you're freezing and starving. You still need water, every day. No running water. You have to haul it from the well. In summer, that's inconvenient. In winter, it's hell. The well is 100 yards from your building. The path is buried in snow. You have to wade through drifts, break the ice on the well, haul a heavy bucket back, then heat the water on the stove before you can use it. One trip gives you maybe 2 gallons. A family of 6 needs at least 10 gallons a day for drinking, cooking, washing. That's 5 trips, every day, in 40 below wind. You still need to wash clothes. No washing machine. You scrub everything by hand on a washboard, using lye soap that burns your skin. Then you wring it out, your hands so cold they're numb, and hang it near the stove to dry. It takes all day, and you have to do it at least once a week because you only have a few changes of clothes. You still need to cook. 3 meals a day, even if it's just that coarse brown bread and weak tea made from boiling the same leaves 3 times. You still need to clean, sweep the floors, wipe down surfaces, empty the chamber pot. You still need to care for the children, keep them occupied, keep them calm, keep them from fighting or crying or losing hope. Mary can't see well anymore, so you guide her. Grace is 3 and doesn't understand why it's so cold, so you hold her. Laura and Carrie are old enough to help, but they're still children. They need reassurance, routine, something that feels normal. You are the routine. You are the reassurance. If you fall apart, they fall apart. So you don't. You can't. But inside you're screaming. Would you survive? Let's be honest. You wouldn't. Not even close. You'd make it maybe a week before the cold broke you. Your modern body has no tolerance for sustained cold. You'd get frostbite on day 3, fingertips, toes, maybe your nose. Without antibiotics, that frostbite would get infected. You'd lose the fingers, maybe the hand. Or you'd run out of food and panic. You'd eat too much too fast, trying to stave off the hunger, and the supplies would run out in a month instead of 3. Then you'd starve for real, or you'd go mad. The isolation, the darkness, the fear, it would crack you. Prairie madness wasn't a myth. It was a documented phenomenon. Women walked out into blizzards and didn't come back. Some intentionally. Some because their minds just broke. Caroline Ingalls survived because she'd been training for this her entire life. She knew how to stretch food, how to twist hay, how to keep a fire going with damp fuel, how to keep children calm when she was terrified, how to wake up every morning and do it all again even when her body was failing. You don't have that training. You have central heating and DoorDash and a thermostat you complain about when it's set to 68 degrees. So no, you wouldn't survive being Ma Ingalls during the long winter, but that's okay, because tonight you don't have to. You can just listen, stay warm, stay safe, and wonder how the hell she made it through. So you made it through the first blizzard. Congratulations. You're still alive. Your fingers are numb, your stomach is cramping from hunger, and you haven't slept properly in 3 days because the cold won't let you. But you're alive. For now. Here's what you need to understand. Survival isn't a single moment of heroism. It's not grabbing a survival kit and toughing it out for a weekend. It's 7 months of your body slowly breaking down cell by cell, system by system, until you're a hollow version of the person you were, and there's no doctor coming to save you. The medical void. Let's talk about what happens when you get sick. Not call in sick to work, sick. Actually sick. Fever, infection, the kind of sick that kills people. In 1880, De Smet doesn't have a doctor. The nearest physician is 40 miles away in a town you can't reach because the trains stopped running and the roads are buried under 10 feet of snow. Even if you could reach him, what could he do? Medicine in 1880 is barely past bloodletting and prayer. There are no antibiotics. Penicillin won't be discovered for another 48 years. There are no antivirals, no vaccines worth trusting, no sterile surgical techniques. If you get an infection, you treat it with hot compresses and hope. If you get pneumonia, you survive or you don't, and the odds aren't in your favour. You're 40 years old, Caroline. You've already survived 5 pregnancies, 2 of which ended in children who died. Your body is worn down from years of physical labour, hauling water, scrubbing laundry, lifting heavy cast iron pots, carrying children. Your immune system isn't what it was at 20. You're running on depleted reserves, and the winter hasn't even really started yet. Let's say you catch a cold. Just a simple cold. Someone coughs near you. You breathe in the wrong air and boom, your throat gets scratchy. Your nose starts running. No big deal, right? You've had colds before, except this isn't a cold you can treat with Dayquil and a Netflix binge. You still have to haul water from the well in sub-zero temperatures. You still have to twist hay bundles for the fire. You still have to cook, clean, care for 4 children, and keep the household running. There's no calling in sick, there's no taking a day off. So you push through, you tell yourself it's just a cold. You ignore the ache in your chest, the way your breath rattles a little when you exhale. You keep working because stopping means the fire goes out, the children go hungry, and the family falls apart. And then it gets worse. The cold settles into your lungs. You start coughing, deep, wet coughs that make your ribs hurt. You're feverish. Your body's burning energy it doesn't have, trying to fight off an infection it can't beat without help. You need rest. You need fluids. You need medicine. You have none of those things. So you brew weak tea from the same leaves you've already used 3 times. You wrap yourself in a quilt and sit close to the stove, shivering despite the heat. You pray, and you hope your body's strong enough to fight this off. Maybe it is. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe your immune system rallies and you recover, though it takes 3 weeks instead of 3 days, and leaves you weak and exhausted. Or maybe it turns into pneumonia. Your lungs fill with fluid. Every breath is a struggle. You can't get enough air. Your lips turn blue. Your children watch you drown on dry land. and there's nothing anyone can do. That's what kills people in the long winter. Not the cold itself. Though frostbite and hypothermia take their share, it's the infections, the illnesses, the slow cascade of bodily failures that happen when you're malnourished, exhausted and exposed to brutal conditions with no medical support. The injuries you can't fix. Let's say you don't get sick. Let's say you're one of the lucky ones with a strong immune system. You still have to contend with injuries. You're carrying a bucket of water from the well, it's 40 below zero. The ground is ice, you slip. The bucket goes flying. You land hard on your wrist. Pain shoots up your arm. You can't move your hand. It might be broken. It might just be badly sprained. You don't know because there's no X-ray machine, no emergency room, no urgent care clinic. So you do what women in 1880 do. You wrap it in cloth, bind it tight, and keep using it. Because you don't have a choice. The work doesn't stop for a broken wrist. If it's broken, it might heal wrong. You might lose mobility in that hand for the rest of your life. You might develop arthritis that makes every winter a special kind of hell. But right now, you just grit your teeth and keep going. Or let's say Charles is out gathering hay and he gets frostbite. It happens fast at 40 below. 10 minutes of exposed skin and the tissue starts to freeze. His fingers go white, then grey. They're numb, which seems like a mercy until the rewarming starts. You bring him inside. You know you're supposed to warm frostbitten tissue slowly, but you don't know why or how. You fill a basin with water that's too hot. Charles plunges his hands in. The pain is excruciating, like his fingers are being stabbed with thousands of hot needles. He screams. The children cry. The tissue damage is done. Over the next few days, his fingertips turn black. The tissue is dead. It's going to fall off or need to be amputated, and you're the one who's going to have to do it because there's no doctor. You sterilize a knife in boiling water. You give Charles a leather strap to bite down on. You pour whiskey over his hand, not to numb the pain because that's a myth, but to clean the wound. And then you cut away the dead tissue while your husband screams and your children hide in the corner. Congratulations, you're a frontier surgeon now. And if infection sets in, if the wound doesn't heal clean, if gangrene creeps up his hand and into his arm, you know what happens then. The psychological breaking point. But let's say you avoid illness. Let's say you avoid injury. You're still fighting a battle you can't see, the one inside your head. Isolation does things to the human mind. We're social creatures. We need light, movement, variety, connection. We need to know that the world is bigger than the four walls around us. You have none of that. You're trapped in a 15 by 20 foot room with 5 other people for 7 months. The same faces, the same voices, the same walls closing in day after day after day. There's no escape, no privacy, no space to breathe. The darkness makes it worse. Winter days in Dakota are short. The sun rises late and sets early. By December, you're getting maybe 8 hours of weak, pale daylight. The rest is darkness. Long, oppressive darkness that presses against the windows and seeps into your bones. You try to keep busy. You twist hay. You grind wheat. You mend clothes. You read the same few books over and over until you've memorized every word. But there are only so many ways to fill the endless hours. The silence is heavy. Not peaceful. Heavy. Like a weight on your chest. The only sounds are the wind howling outside, the creak of the building settling, the occasional cough or sigh from someone in the room. It's the kind of silence that makes you forget what your own voice sounds like. You start to feel it creeping in, the fear, the doubt, the slow, insidious whisper that says, what if the trains never come? What if the wheat runs out? What if spring never arrives? You push the thoughts away. You have to. You're the mother. You're the anchor. If you fall apart, everyone falls apart. But the thoughts keep coming. You lie awake at night staring at the frost on the ceiling, doing math in your head. 6 people. 1 loaf of bread per day. Wheat enough for maybe 60 more days. 70 if you make the loaves smaller. But what if winter lasts longer than that? What if you calculated wrong? What if you have to watch your children starve? That's the thought that wakes you up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, breath coming fast. You can't let it happen. You won't let it happen. But you don't know how to stop it. This is what they called prairie madness in the 1880s. The isolation, the fear, the unrelenting stress. It broke people, women especially, because women bore the psychological weight of keeping families alive, keeping children calm, maintaining some semblance of normalcy in situations that were anything but normal. Some women walked out into blizzards and didn't come back. Some sat down one day and refused to get up. Some became violent, turning their terror outward because they couldn't contain it anymore. You understand, on some level, why they did it. Because you feel it too. That edge, that place where you're not sure how much more you can take. But you don't have the luxury of breaking, so you don't. You wake up, you twist hay, you bake bread, you smile at your children and tell them everything's going to be fine. You hold Grace when she cries. You guide Mary's hands when she can't see. You keep Laura and Carrie busy with chores so they don't dwell on the hunger. You perform normalcy even when nothing is normal. You perform strength even when you feel like you're made of glass. You perform hope even when you're drowning in fear. Because that's what mothers do. That's what pioneer women did. They carried the weight and they didn't let anyone see how heavy it was. The daily grind. Let's walk through a typical day. Because the horror of the long winter isn't one catastrophic event. It's the grinding, relentless sameness of survival. You wake before dawn. It's dark. It's always dark. The temperature inside the room has dropped overnight because the fire burned low. You can see your breath. Frost has formed on the inside of the walls. Your joints ache from the cold and from sleeping on an uncomfortable bed. You don't want to get up. Your body is screaming at you to stay under the quilts, to conserve warmth, to rest. But the fire needs feeding. If the fire goes out, you will freeze, so you get up. Your bare feet hit the frozen floor and it's like stepping on ice. You hurry to the stove, add a few bundles of twisted hay, blow on the embers until they catch. The hay burns fast, too fast. You'll need to add more in 20 minutes. You heat water for washing, just a little, enough to wipe faces and hands. You can't waste fuel heating bath water. Full baths are a luxury you haven't had in months. The children wake up. Grace is crying because she's cold and hungry. Mary sits quietly, her failing eyes staring at nothing. Laura and Carrie help with the morning chores without being asked. They've learned not to complain. Breakfast is a slice of coarse brown bread and weak tea. That's it. That's all there is. Grace whimpers that she's still hungry. You give her half of your portion. You tell yourself you're not hungry anyway. After breakfast, Laura grinds wheat. The coffee mill jams constantly. The kernels are too hard. It takes an hour to grind enough for tomorrow's bread. You can hear the scrape and grind of the mill over and over and over. It's the soundtrack of your life now. You mix the flour with water. No salt, no yeast, no butter, just flour and water. You shape it into a flat loaf and put it in the oven. It bakes unevenly because the stove temperature is impossible to control. The bottom burns. The middle stays dense and heavy. While the bread bakes, you twist hay. Charles brings in a pile of dried grass from outside. You sit at the table and twist, twist, twist. Your hands are covered in blisters. The rough stalks cut your palms. Your fingers crack and bleed from the cold and the constant work. But you keep twisting because the fire needs feeding. Midday, someone needs to fetch water. The well is 100 yards away. It's 40 below outside. Charles usually does this, but sometimes you have to go. You wrap yourself in every piece of clothing you own. You step outside and the wind hits you like a physical force. The cold is instant and total. Your eyes water. Your lungs burn. You can't breathe without the air hurting. You make it to the well. You break the ice. You haul up the bucket. It's so heavy your arms shake. You carry it back. By the time you reach the door, your fingers are numb and your face is frozen. Inside, you heat the water on the stove. You use it for cooking, for washing, for drinking. Then you have to do it all again because 6 people need a lot of water. Afternoon is more of the same. Twist hay, feed the fire, Watch the bread bake, mend clothes, keep the children occupied. Try not to think about how long this has been going on. Try not to think about how much longer it might last. Dinner is the same as breakfast, bread and weak tea. Sometimes you boil the wheat into a thin porridge. It's bland and gluey, but it fills your stomach. Barely. Evening, you sit close to the stove. There's no light except the glow from the fire. You can't waste kerosene on lamps, so you sit in the dim, flickering light and try to stay warm. The children huddle together. Charles smokes his pipe in silence. You twist more hay because the fire never stops needing fuel. Bedtime comes early because there's nothing else to do and you need to conserve the fire. You pile under the quilts with Grace between you and Charles. The older girls share the other bed. You can hear the wind howling outside. You can feel the cold seeping through the walls. You don't sleep well. You never sleep well anymore. You wake every few hours to feed the fire. You lie there in the dark, listening to your family breathe, and you wonder how much longer you can do this. And then the sun comes up, or rather, the darkness lightens to grey, and you do it all again. For 7 months. Would you last a week? Be honest with yourself. Could you do this? Could you wake up every day knowing that today will be exactly like yesterday? Could you watch your children go hungry and not break down? Could you function on minimal sleep, minimal food, and constant physical labour in brutal cold? Could you do it without your phone, without your distractions, without any connection to the outside world? Could you keep your sanity when there's nothing to do but sit in the dark and think? No, you couldn't, because you haven't spent your entire life training for this. You haven't built up the calluses, physical and emotional, that Caroline Ingalls had. You haven't learned to divorce your feelings from your actions, to keep moving even when your body and mind are screaming at you to stop. Ma Ingalls survived the long winter because she had no choice, because stopping meant death, because she carried the weight of 5 lives on her shoulders and couldn't afford to put it down. You'd break in a week, maybe less, and that's okay, because you're not supposed to survive this. Nobody is. The fact that anyone made it through is a testament to human endurance at its absolute limit. But we're not done yet. We've talked about the cold, the hunger, the medical reality, the psychological toll. Now we need to talk about the thing that almost killed them all. The day the wheat ran out and 2 boys rode into a blizzard to find more. It's February 1881. You've been living on coarse brown bread for 3 months. You've forgotten what real food tastes like. Butter is a memory. Sugar is a myth. Your children ask if you remember bacon, and you realise you can't quite recall the smell of it sizzling in a pan. But at least you have the wheat. Until you don't. You're standing in the storeroom, the cramped space that doubles as your home, when Charles comes up from downstairs. His face is grey. Not pale. Grey. Like the colour of ash after a fire has burned out. "Carolyn," he says. Your name sounds wrong in his mouth. Too careful. Like he's handling something fragile that might shatter. You know before he says it, you've been counting the days, measuring the wheat, doing the math over and over in your head. But hearing it out loud is different. The wheat's almost gone. Not gone. Almost gone. But almost might as well be completely when the trains aren't running and the nearest supply is 40 miles away through 10-foot snowdrifts and 40 below temperatures. You look at Grace. She's playing with a wooden spoon, humming to herself, blissfully unaware that her mother is calculating how many more days she'll have food. 3 years old. She doesn't understand hunger yet. Not real hunger. Not the kind that makes your stomach stop hurting because it's given up asking for food. Laura is watching you. She's 14 now, old enough to understand what this means, old enough to see the fear you're trying to hide. You meet her eyes and force yourself to smile. "We'll manage," you say. The lie tastes bitter. But here's the thing about February 1881 in De Smet. It's not just your family that's running out of food, it's everyone. The entire town is starving together, slowly, day by day, and nobody knows when, or if, the trains will come. The town rations De Smet has formed committees. That's what civilized people do when they're dying slowly. They organise. They form committees and take votes and try to distribute resources fairly, as if fairness matters when there aren't enough resources to distribute. The storekeepers, the ones who still have anything left, are rationing supplies. Each family gets a small allotment. You stand in line with your neighbours, all of you hollow-eyed and thin, and you receive your portion. A handful of wheat kernels, sometimes a few potatoes, shriveled and soft. You carry your ration home and add it to what's left in your own supply. You do the math again. If you make the loaves smaller, if you stretch the wheat with more water, if you skip meals yourself and give your portions to the children. Maybe 2 weeks, 3 if you're very, very careful. And then what? The town is holding meetings. The men gather in Fuller's store, one of the few places large enough to hold a crowd, and they discuss options. Can someone make it to the next town? Can they break through the drifts? Can they find supplies? But nobody wants to say the thing everyone's thinking. What if there are no supplies? What if the next town is in the same situation? What if the entire territory is cut off, isolated, starving together? Someone mentions that there might be wheat south of town. A settler who came through in the fall before the blizzard started might have bought seed wheat, might still have it, might be willing to sell, might. The word hangs in the air like a prayer. The boys who rode into hell. You don't know Ingalls Wilder well. He's young, 23, 24 maybe. He has a claim south of town, works hard, keeps to himself mostly, but he has a good reputation, steady, reliable, the kind of man who does what needs doing without making a fuss about it. His friend Cap Garland is younger, brasher, quick to laugh, quick to move. You've seen him around town, always in motion, like he can't sit still. These are the two who volunteer. You hear about it secondhand. Someone tells Charles, and Charles tells you. 2 boys are going to ride south, into the open prairie, looking for a rumour of wheat, in February, in the middle of blizzard season, when the temperature is 30, 40 below zero, and the snow is deep enough to swallow a horse. They'll die, you say, not because you want them to, because it's true. You've lived on this prairie long enough to know what it does to people who underestimate it. Charles doesn't argue. Maybe, he says, but if they don't go, we all die anyway. That's the calculation. 2 lives gambled against 75. 2 boys riding into what will almost certainly be their deaths, chasing a rumour, because the alternative is watching an entire town starve. You think about their mothers. You wonder if they tried to stop their sons. You wonder if they begged, pleaded, forbade, or if they just held them close and let them go, because what else can you do when there are no good choices? You imagine watching Laura or Carrie walk out into that snow, knowing they might not come back. The thought makes your chest tighten, makes it hard to breathe, but you also imagine watching them starve, watching Grace's round cheeks hollow out, watching her ribs show through her skin, watching the light fade from her eyes. Which death would you choose for your child? The wait. The boys leave on a Tuesday, or maybe it's a Wednesday. The days blur together when every day is the same. Cold, dark, hungry, afraid. You don't watch them go. You can't. You stay inside with the children, twisting hay, grinding wheat, pretending everything is normal. But you're listening for the sound of hoofbeats coming back too soon, which would mean they turned around, or worse, listening for the sound of someone coming to tell you they found the boys frozen in a snowdrift. Hours pass, then a day, then 2 days. Nobody talks about them. It's like the whole town is holding its breath, afraid that speaking their names will curse them somehow, but everyone's thinking about them. You can see it in people's faces when you pass them on the street, that mixture of hope and dread and guilt. You make the bread smaller. You water the wheat down so thin it's barely bread anymore. More like paste, really. Gluey and tasteless. The children eat it without complaining because they know there's nothing else. At night you lie awake doing math. If the boys don't come back, if the wheat really is gone, how long until... You don't finish the thought. You can't. On the 3rd day, someone sees riders on the horizon, the wheat that saved a town. The boys brought back 60 bushels of wheat. 60 bushels! It cost them everything they had. The settler wanted $3 a bushel, An obscene price, highway robbery really, but what choice did they have? Almanzo and Cap pooled their money, everything they'd saved, and bought it all. Then they loaded it onto a sled and drove it back through 12 miles of snow and wind and cold that should have killed them. They almost died. You hear the stories later, how the cold was so intense it burned their skin, how they couldn't feel their hands or feet by the time they got back, how Almanzo's mother cried when she saw him because she thought she'd lost him. But they made it. They brought the wheat to town and suddenly the whole place is alive again. People are emerging from their homes, gathering in the street, talking, laughing, crying. It's not celebration exactly. It's relief. Raw, overwhelming relief. Charles buys your family's share. £25. It costs more than you can afford, but you pay it because the alternative is death. You carry it home like it's gold, because it is. It's life in grain form. That night, you grind the wheat and make bread. Real bread. Well, relatively real. It's still coarse and heavy and brown, but it's more than you've had in weeks. The children eat it slowly, savouring every bite. Grace asks for seconds. You give her half of your portion. Charles says grace before dinner. He thanks God for the food, for the boys who risked their lives, for the wheat that came at just the right time. His voice cracks a little when he says Amen. You don't feel grateful. Not yet. You feel exhausted, wrung out. Like you've been holding your breath for 3 days and you've only just now remembered how to exhale. The math that never stops. But even as you're eating that first meal with the new wheat, you're doing the math. 60 bushels for 75 people. How long will it last? 6 weeks? 8? And what if the trains don't come in 8 weeks? What if winter lasts longer than anyone expected? What if there's another blizzard, another delay, another crisis? The wheat is a reprieve, not a solution, just a postponement of the inevitable. You start rationing immediately, smaller loaves again, thinner porridge. You grind only what you need for each day, no more. Every kernel counts. Every meal could be the difference between making it to spring or not. The children don't understand why you're still being so careful. They saw the wheat. They know there's food now. Why can't they have more? How do you explain it? How do you tell a 3-year-old that the food she's eating might have to last another 2 months? That if she eats too much today, she might have nothing tomorrow? You don't. You just make the portion smaller and ignore the way they look at you. Not angry, just confused, hurt. Like you're withholding something for no reason. Laura understands. You see it in her face when she looks at the bread, when she takes her small piece and doesn't ask for more. She's old enough to do the math too. Old enough to know that survival isn't about having enough. It's about making what you have last as long as possible. The cost nobody talks about Almanzo and Cap save the town. That's the story people tell. 2 heroes who risked everything to bring back wheat in the darkest hour. But there's another story underneath that one. A story about what it cost to be a hero. Almanzo spent everything he had. His savings, his seed money for spring, his emergency fund. All of it went to buying that wheat. He didn't charge the town a profit, he sold it at cost, breaking even because making money off starving neighbours isn't something a decent man does. Which means he's starting spring with nothing. No money to buy seed. No cushion if crops fail. No safety net. Cap Garland is in the same position. 2 young men, barely adults themselves, bankrupted by the act of saving their neighbours. You wonder if anyone will remember that. If anyone will help them when they need it. Or if the town will just move on, grateful but forgetful, the way people always are once the crisis is over. You want to believe people are better than that. You want to believe that kindness will be repaid, that sacrifice will be honoured. But you've lived on the frontier long enough to know better. People survive, they do what they have to do, and once they're safe, they forget how close they came to the edge. The lesson. You're learning. This is what the long winter is teaching you. There's no such thing as safety. Not really. You can plan, save, prepare, work yourself to exhaustion trying to build a life, and one bad winter can strip it all away. The railroad was supposed to make life easier, reliable. You could count on supplies, on connection to the rest of the world, on rescue if things went wrong. except the railroad stopped running, and nobody came to rescue you. And the only thing that saved your family was two boys gambling their lives on a rumour. You're learning that systems fail, institutions fail, even nature, reliable, predictable nature, can turn chaotic and cruel and unpredictable. The only thing you can count on is yourself, your own strength, your own will to survive. And even that might not be enough. It's a bitter lesson. You don't want it to be true. You want to believe that society means something, that civilization protects you, that working hard and following the rules will lead to security. But you're living proof that it doesn't. You did everything right. Charles worked hard. You managed the household carefully. You saved, planned, prepared, and you still almost starved. What does that mean for your daughters? What kind of world are you raising them in? The winter that won't end. March comes. The wheat is lasting, but just barely. You're measuring everything in days now. We have enough for 12 more days. 11. 10. The blizzards keep coming. Not as frequent as before, but often enough to remind you that winter isn't done with you yet. The snow is still waist deep. The cold is still brutal. The trains still aren't running. Someone starts a rumour that they saw a train south of town, stuck in a drift trying to push through. But nobody knows if it's true. Rumours are like that. They spread faster than facts, feeding on desperation and hope in equal measure. You stop believing in spring. Spring is a myth, a story you tell children to keep them calm. Winter is eternal. This is your life now. Cold and dark and hungry. Grinding wheat, twisting hay, waiting for an end that never comes. But you wake up every morning anyway. You twist the hay, you grind the wheat, you bake the bread. You care for your children. You keep the fire burning, not because you're strong, not because you're brave, but because stopping means dying, and you're not ready to die yet. Would you last this long? Could you do this? Could you watch your children go hungry day after day and not break? Could you ration food when every instinct screams to feed them more? Could you stay calm when you're calculating how many days until starvation? Could you make bread from wheat you ground by hand, in a coffee mill for an hour every single day for months? Could you keep hoping when hope feels like a cruel joke? No, you couldn't. Because hope isn't something you're born with. It's something you build day by day through years of practice. Caroline Ingalls had 40 years of practice, 40 years of hard winters, failed crops, dead children, broken promises, and starting over. You have Netflix and central heating and a grocery store 2 miles away. So no, you wouldn't survive this. You wouldn't last a month. But that's okay, because tonight you don't have to. You can just sit in your warm room, eating food you didn't have to grind yourself, and be grateful that the worst thing you'll face this winter is a high heating bill. And maybe, just maybe, you can spare a thought for Caroline Ingalls, for the 40-year-old woman who kept her family alive through 7 months of hell, who twisted hay until her hands bled, who made bread from wheat someone almost died to bring back, who woke up every morning and chose survival even when survival felt impossible. She made it. All 6 of them made it. The trains finally came in May, 4.5 months after they stopped. The family survived. But they were never quite the same after. None of them were. You think you know cold. You've scraped ice off your windshield. You've walked from your heated car to your heated office on a January morning. You've complained about the thermostat being set too low. You don't know cold. Cold at 40 below zero isn't an inconvenience. It's a predator. It hunts you. It waits for you to make one mistake, stay outside too long, get your gloves wet, breathe too deeply, and then it strikes. And once it has you, it doesn't let go. It's January 1881. You've been inside for weeks. The walls are closing in. The children are restless. Charles is silent, staring at the frost patterns on the window like they hold answers. You need to fetch water from the well. It's 100 yards away. You've done this walk 1,000 times. You can do it again. You wrap yourself in every piece of fabric you own. 2 skirts, 3 shawls, Charles's coat over your own, A scarf wound around your face until only your eyes show. Mittens over your already chapped hands. You open the door. The cold hits you like a physical blow. Your lungs seize. The air is so cold it burns going down your throat and you cough, which makes you inhale more of that knife-sharp air, which makes you cough harder. Your eyes water instantly. The tears freeze on your eyelashes. You step outside. The snow crunches under your feet. Not a soft crunch, but a sharp squeak. The sound snow makes when it's too cold to compress properly. The wind is blowing, not howling. Just a steady, relentless push that feels like hands trying to shove you back inside. The well is 100 yards away. You can barely see it through the blowing snow. You start walking. 10 steps. Your face is numb, not cold, numb. The exposed skin around your eyes feels like leather stretched too tight. You can't feel your nose anymore. 20 steps. Your fingers are tingling inside the mittens. Not a pleasant tingle. The sharp, painful tingle that means your blood vessels are constricting, trying to keep your core warm by sacrificing your extremities. 30 steps. You're breathing hard. The effort of walking through the snow, of pushing against the wind, of keeping your footing on the uneven drifts. It's exhausting. Each breath burns your lungs. You try to breathe through your scarf, warming the air before it reaches your throat, but the scarf is already stiffening with frozen condensation from your breath. 50 steps, halfway there. Your legs are aching. The cold is seeping through your skirts, through your petticoats, finding your skin. You can feel it. A creeping numbness starting at your ankles, working its way up your calves. 70 steps. You're not sure you can make it. The well seems farther away than when you started. Your vision is blurring, the cold air making your eyes water constantly, the tears freezing, melting, freezing again. Your eyelashes are clumped together with ice. 80 steps. Your hands have stopped hurting. That should feel like relief. It's not. It's a warning. When you stop feeling the cold, that's when the damage is happening. That's when frostbite sets in. Silent, insidious, permanent. 90 steps. The well. You made it. Your hands are shaking, not from fear, from the cold, as you try to break the ice. There's a layer 3 inches thick. You chip at it with the bucket. Your movements are clumsy. You can't feel your fingers well enough to grip properly. The ice breaks. You lower the bucket, haul it up. The water sloshes. Some of it splashes onto your mittens. You don't notice at first. Then you feel it. The wet wool against your hands starting to freeze. Within seconds, your mittens are stiff. Now you have to walk back. 100 yards, carrying a heavy bucket, with frozen mittens and numb hands and legs that are screaming at you to stop. You start walking. The bucket is heavy. Your arms ache. You have to stop every 20 steps to rest, to switch the bucket to your other hand to catch your breath. Each stop makes it harder to start moving again. The cold is seeping deeper. Your feet are numb now. Your legs are numb. You can't feel your face at all. The door. Finally. You're back. You stumble inside and the warmth, the relative warmth of 50 degrees, hits you like a wall. And that's when the pain starts. Your hands. God, your hands. As the blood flow returns, as your fingers thaw, the pain is excruciating. It feels like your hands are being crushed in a vice, like needles are being driven under your fingernails, like your bones are being broken from the inside out. You want to scream. You don't, because the children are watching. You set the bucket down, barely, your hands aren't working right, and you sit by the stove, cradling your hands, rocking back and forth, waiting for the pain to stop. It doesn't stop. Not for an hour, not for 2 hours. Your hands throb and burn and ache with a deep, bone-level pain that makes you nauseous. When you finally unwrap your mittens, you see what you were afraid of. Your fingertips are white, bloodless, dead-looking, frostbite, 1st degree, maybe 2nd. You flex your fingers. They move. That's good. That means the tissue isn't completely dead, but the skin is damaged. It'll blister. It'll peel. It might never quite feel normal again. And you have to do this again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Because water doesn't fetch itself. The science of freezing to death. Let's talk about what cold actually does to your body. because understanding it doesn't make it hurt less, but at least you'll know what's killing you. When the temperature drops below freezing, your body goes into survival mode. It prioritizes keeping your core warm, your heart, your lungs, your brain. Everything else is expendable. Blood vessels in your extremities constrict. Your fingers, toes, ears, nose, they get less blood flow. This is called vasoconstriction, and it's your body's way of saying I'd rather you lose a few fingers than die. If the cold continues, the tissue in those extremities starts to freeze. Water in your cells turns to ice. Ice crystals form. They're sharp. They puncture cell walls. The cells rupture. The tissue dies. That's frostbite. There are degrees. First-degree frostbite affects only the surface skin. It hurts like hell, but you'll recover. Second-degree frostbite goes deeper. You'll get blisters. The skin will peel away. You might have permanent nerve damage. Third-degree frostbite means the tissue is dead, black, necrotic. It'll have to be amputized or it'll rot and infect your whole body. In 1881, you don't have access to warming chambers, vasodilators, or antibiotics. You have warm water and hope. If the frostbite is bad, Charles will have to cut away the dead tissue with a knife sterilized in boiling water. You'll have to bite down on a piece of leather and try not to pass out from the pain. And if infection sets in, if the wound gets red and swollen and starts to smell, then you're probably going to die. Hypothermia. The slow shutdown. But frostbite isn't the only danger. There's also hypothermia when your core temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. It happens in stages. Stage 1. You're shivering uncontrollably. Your body is trying to generate heat through muscle movement. You're alert but uncomfortable. Your skin is pale, your fingers are clumsy. This is the stage where you can still save yourself if you get warm fast enough. Stage 2. The shivering stops. This seems like it should be a good thing. It's not. It means your body has given up on generating heat. Your movements are sluggish, uncoordinated. Your thinking is confused. You might start making poor decisions, like deciding to lie down in the snow for just a minute, just to rest. People in stage 2 hypothermia often exhibit paradoxical undressing. They feel hot, so they start taking off their clothes. This obviously makes things worse, but they can't think clearly enough to understand that. They strip down to their undergarments and lie in the snow, and wonder why they're so tired. Stage 3. Your heart rate is dangerously slow. Your breathing is shallow. Your pupils are dilated. You're barely conscious. Your skin is ice cold, blue tinged. You look dead. You might be dead. It's hard to tell. In 1881, there's no way to measure core temperature. No thermometers designed for hypothermia. No emergency rewarming protocols. If someone goes into stage 3 hypothermia, the best you can do is wrap them in blankets, put them near the fire, and hope. Most of the time, they don't wake up. The children are vulnerable. Grace is 3 years old. Her body is small. She has less body mass to generate heat. She has a higher surface area to volume ratio, which means she loses heat faster than an adult. If Grace gets cold, really cold, she could die in hours, not days. Hours! You watch her constantly. Is she shivering? Are her lips turning blue? Is she lethargic? You keep her close to the stove. You bundle her in quilts. You hold her against your body, sharing your warmth, even though you're cold yourself. At night, Grace sleeps between you and Charles. The warmth of 3 bodies together is better than one alone, but even so, you wake up multiple times to check on her, to make sure she's still breathing, to make sure her hands and feet are warm, because you've heard the stories. You know what can happen. A child falls asleep near a cold wall. By morning they're dead. No warning, no drama, just gone. You can't let that happen. You won't let that happen. The wind makes it worse. It's not just the temperature, it's the wind. Wind chill wasn't a concept in 1881, but the effect was real. When wind blows across exposed skin, it strips away the thin layer of warm air that normally surrounds your body. It accelerates heat loss. It makes the cold feel colder. At 40 below, with a 20-mile-per-hour wind, the effective temperature is closer to 70 below. At that temperature, exposed skin freezes in less than 5 minutes. Frostbite is almost guaranteed. The wind in Dakota Territory doesn't just blow, it screams. It tears at the building. It finds every crack, every gap, every weak point in the walls. It howls through the spaces around the door. It makes the whole structure shudder. You stuff rags into the cracks. You hang blankets over the windows to create an extra layer of insulation. You do everything you can to keep the wind out. It's not enough. The wind still finds a way in. You can feel it. Cold drafts slithering across the floor, stealing what little heat the stove produces. Would you survive this? Let's be honest. The first time you had to fetch water in 40 below cold, you'd probably get frostbite. You don't know how to recognise the warning signs. You don't know when to stop. You'd push through the numbness, thinking you're tough, thinking you can handle it. By the time you got back inside, you'd have second-degree frostbite on your fingers, maybe your toes, maybe your nose and ears. Without proper treatment, those injuries would become infected. The infection would spread. You'd develop sepsis, blood poisoning. Your whole body would start shutting down, and there's nothing anyone could do to save you. Or maybe you'd get hypothermia. You'd go outside to gather hay and get disoriented. You'd wander off in the wrong direction. By the time Charles found you, you'd be unconscious in a snowdrift. Your core temperature too low to recover. Or maybe you'd make one careless mistake. You'd spill water on your mittens and not realise how dangerous that was. The wet wool would freeze your hands faster than dry wool. You'd lose your grip on the bucket. You'd be unable to open the door with your frozen, clumsy fingers. You'd freeze to death 20 feet from safety. Caroline Ingalls survived because she'd spent her entire life learning to respect the cold. She knew her limits. She knew when to stop. She knew how to layer clothing, how to keep her hands dry, how to recognise the early signs of frostbite. You don't have that knowledge. You'd learn it the hard way. If you survived long enough to learn at all. It's February now. You've been eating coarse brown bread for 3 months. One small loaf a day, divided among 6 people. That's approximately 200 calories per person per day. You need about 2,000 calories per day to maintain your weight and function normally. You're getting 10% of that. Your body is eating itself. This isn't metaphor. This is biology. When you don't consume enough calories, your body starts breaking down its own tissue for fuel. First it burns through your fat reserves. Then it starts consuming muscle. Then, if you're still starving, it starts breaking down organ tissue. You've lost maybe 20 pounds since October. You weren't overweight to begin with. 20 pounds is a lot. Your clothes hang loose. Your face is gaunt. Your collarbones jut out sharply. When you look at your hands, you can see every bone, every tendon. You're not just thin, you're wasting away. The stages of starvation, week 1. Hunger is constant but manageable. Your stomach growls. You think about food all the time, but your body is still functioning normally, burning through its immediate glucose stores. Week 2. The hunger intensifies. Your body has depleted its glucose and is now breaking down glycogen stores in your liver and muscles. You feel weak, tired, your concentration is poor, you get headaches. Week 3 to 8. Your body enters ketosis, it's burning fat for fuel. You feel less hungry, the ketones suppress appetite, but you're exhausted. Your muscles ache. You're cold all the time because fat provides insulation and you're running out of it. Your menstrual cycle stops. Your body has decided that pregnancy is a bad idea right now. Week 8 to 12. You're in the muscle wasting phase. Your body has burned through most of its fat and is now consuming muscle tissue for energy. Your immune system is compromised. Minor illnesses become major threats. Your hair starts falling out. Your skin becomes dry and flaky. Your nails become brittle. Week 12 and beyond, organ damage. Your body is breaking down everything it can to stay alive. Your heart muscle is weakening. Your kidneys are struggling. Your liver is barely functioning. You're dizzy, confused. You have trouble thinking clearly. Your body temperature regulation is failing. You're cold even when sitting right next to the stove. You're at week 16 now. 16 weeks of semi-starvation. You're past the point where this is sustainable. If food doesn't come soon, permanent damage is being done. If food doesn't come in the next month, some of you might not survive. What hunger feels like. At first, hunger is a sensation in your stomach, a hollow feeling, an ache. It's uncomfortable, but tolerable. After a while, it becomes something else. It becomes a presence, a companion. It's always there, gnawing at you, demanding attention. Your stomach doesn't just ache, it cramps. Sharp pains that double you over, nausea that comes in waves. You try to drink water to fill your stomach. It helps for about 10 minutes. Then the cramping starts again. Your body sends signals to your brain. Feed me, feed me, feed me. Every thought circles back to food. You remember meals from years ago. You can taste them, smell them, feel the texture in your mouth. These memories are torture. They make the hunger worse. You start having dreams about food. Vivid, detailed dreams where you're eating roast beef or fresh bread with butter or apple pie. You wake up with your mouth watering, and for a few seconds you can still taste it. Then reality crashes back. The dream food is gone. You're still hungry. You're always hungry. The children don't understand why they can't have more, Grace cries. I'm hungry, Ma, please, just a little more. And you have to say no. You have to watch her face crumple. You have to harden your heart and ration the food, because if you give in now, if you feed them all today, there won't be enough tomorrow. That's the worst part. Not your own hunger. You can bear that. But watching your children go hungry, watching Grace's round cheeks hollow out, watching Carrie's energy fade, watching Laura grind wheat with shaking hands because she's too weak to hold the mill steady. The physical effects. Your body is starting to fail in small ways. Your gums bleed when you brush your teeth. That's scurvy, vitamin C deficiency. You haven't had fresh fruit or vegetables in months. Your body can't produce collagen properly. Your blood vessels are fragile. Your immune system is compromised. You bruise easily. A light bump against the table leaves a dark purple mark that takes weeks to fade. Your bones ache. That's early-stage rickets. Vitamin D deficiency from lack of sunlight and poor nutrition. You're constipated. Your digestive system has slowed to conserve energy. When you do manage to have a bowel movement, it's painful. Hard, dry stool from dehydration and low fibre intake. Your hair is falling out. Not in dramatic clumps, but gradually. More strands than usual on your pillow each morning. When you run your fingers through your hair, several strands come away in your hand. Your body has decided hair isn't essential for survival, so it's shutting down hair production to conserve resources. Your period stopped 2 months ago. Your body knows that pregnancy would be catastrophic right now, so it's shut down your reproductive system. This is called amenorrhea, and it's a common response to starvation. You're tired, all the time, exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Your muscles are weak. Climbing the stairs leaves you winded. Carrying water, which you used to do without thinking, now requires rest breaks. Your thinking is slow. You forget things. Simple things. What day is it? Did you already add hay to the fire? Where did you put the bucket? Your brain is running on minimal fuel and cognitive function suffers first. The children are suffering. Mary is 16. She's old enough to understand what's happening. She can't see well. Her vision is already failing from what will eventually be complete blindness, but she knows they're running out of food. She knows her mother is giving away her own portions. She tries to refuse, tries to give her food back to you. You won't let her. Laura is 14. She's thin naturally, but now she's skeletal. Her wrists are so thin you could wrap your fingers around them with room to spare. She doesn't complain. She just keeps grinding wheat, keeps helping with chores, keeps pretending everything is fine. But you see her sometimes, when she thinks no one is watching, just staring at nothing with this hollow expression. Carrie is 10. She's stopped growing. Malnutrition during childhood stunts growth permanently. Even if she survives this winter, when she survives this winter, she'll always be smaller than she should have been. Her adult height will be affected by these months of starvation. Grace is 3. She's the most vulnerable. Children her age need adequate nutrition for brain development. Prolonged starvation can cause permanent cognitive impairment. You're doing everything you can to make sure she gets enough, but enough is a relative term when there's barely anything to divide. She stopped being active. She used to run around, play, chatter constantly. Now she sits quietly by the stove, her thumb in her mouth, her eyes dull. That listlessness is a warning sign. Children who are truly starving become passive. They stop crying. They stop demanding attention. They just exist. The moral weight. Every meal is a calculation, a moral dilemma. Charles needs more food because he's doing physical labour, gathering hay, checking on neighbours, maintaining the building. If he collapses, the family's in serious trouble, so he gets slightly larger portions. Grace needs more because she's growing, except she's not growing anymore. But she's small and vulnerable, so you give her extra anyway. The older girls can probably handle less. They're not doing as much physical work, but they're growing too, or they should be, and depriving them now might cause permanent damage. And you? You need the least, right? You can handle being hungry. You're the adult. You're the mother. You can sacrifice. Except if you collapse, if you become too weak to function. Who will manage the household? Who will cook, fetch water, care for the children? You need to stay functional. You need to eat enough to keep going. So you make the calculations. You divide the bread as fairly as you can. You try to balance need against supply. You try to make it last. And you lie awake at night wondering if you're doing it right. Wondering if there's a better way to divide the food. Wondering if you should give more to Grace, less to yourself. Wondering if Charles could manage on slightly less. Wondering, always wondering, if your decisions are keeping everyone alive or slowly killing them. The psychological torture. You're obsessed with food. You can't help it. Your brain is fixated on the one thing you need and don't have. You think about meals you used to cook. Sunday dinners with roast chicken and potatoes and gravy, pies, cakes, fresh bread with butter melting into it. These memories play on loop in your mind like some kind of torture device. You catch yourself staring at the wheat kernels as you grind them, imagining they're something else. Imagining they're flour for a cake, sugar for cookies, anything but more coarse bread. You start to resent Charles when he eats his portion. It's not rational. He needs it. You gave it to him willingly. But you watch him eat and you think, that could be mine. I could have that extra bite. You feel guilty for these thoughts. You're supposed to be the selfless mother. You're supposed to put everyone else first without resentment. But hunger makes you selfish. It makes you count every crumb. It makes you angry at the people you love most. The children fight over food. Laura accuses Carrie of taking a larger piece. Carrie says Laura had more yesterday. Grace cries because her slice isn't big enough. You have to referee these fights while your own stomach is cramping with hunger, while your own thoughts are fixated on food. This is what starvation does. It doesn't just attack your body, it attacks your relationships. It makes you petty, mean, desperate. Would you survive? Physically? Maybe. If the wheat lasts until spring, you might make it. You'd be severely malnourished. You'd have permanent health consequences. But you might live. Psychologically? That's another question. Could you watch your children go hungry day after day without breaking down? Could you make the impossible choices about who gets more food? Could you handle the guilt, the obsession, the constant gnawing hunger that never ever stops? Could you stay sane when every thought is about food? When every dream is about eating, when your entire existence narrows down to the next meal and the next and the next. Caroline Ingalls had practice. She'd been through lean times before. She'd learned to compartmentalize, to divorce her emotions from her actions, to do what needed doing without letting herself feel the full weight of it. You haven't learned that yet. You'd try. You'd do your best. But at some point, after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks of constant hunger, you'd probably break. You'd give the children too much food because you couldn't stand watching them suffer. Or you'd eat more yourself because the hunger was driving you insane. Or you'd just give up, lie down, and wait for it to be over. Starvation doesn't just kill bodies. It kills hope. And without hope, survival becomes impossible. It's 5 a.m. You can't see the clock, but you know. Your body knows. You've been waking at 5 a.m. for 40 years. Your internal alarm doesn't care that you're exhausted, malnourished and freezing. The fire is dying. You can tell without opening your eyes. The temperature in the room has dropped. If you don't get up right now and add more hay, the fire will go out completely. Then you'll have to restart it from scratch, which takes time and precious hay. You don't want to get up. Every muscle aches. Your joints are stiff from the cold. The quilt over you is the only warm thing in your world right now, and leaving it feels like stepping into ice water. But the fire won't feed itself. You push the quilt aside. The cold hits you immediately. 50 degrees inside. Feels like ice after the relative warmth of the bed. You stand, your knees protesting. Your back aches. Your feet hit the frozen floor and you gasp. The stove. You grab a bundle of twisted hay and open the stove door. The embers are still glowing. Barely. You add the hay. It catches. You add another bundle and another. The fire comes back to life and you feel a tiny wave of warmth. This is your life now. This is what you do every few hours around the clock. Feed the fire. Keep everyone alive. The daily grind. Let's walk through a typical day. Because the horror isn't one dramatic moment. It's the endless repetition of survival. 5 a.m. Wake up. Feed the fire. Heat water for washing. Wake the children. Help them dress in the dark. You're conserving kerosene, so no lamps in the morning. 5:30 a.m. Wash faces and hands with the small amount of heated water. The water is barely warm, but it's better than nothing. Grace cries because she's cold. You comfort her while simultaneously trying to dress her. 6 a.m. breakfast. A slice of coarse brown bread and weak tea. The bread is from yesterday. You bake once a day to conserve fuel. It's hard and dense. The children chew slowly. 6:30 a.m. Laura starts grinding wheat for tomorrow's bread. This takes an hour, maybe more. The coffee mill jams constantly. She has to stop, clear it, start again. Her arm aches from the repetitive motion. 7 a.m. You start the baking process. Mix the ground wheat with water. Knead it into a rough dough. Shape it into a loaf. Put it in the oven. Monitor the temperature. Too hot and it burns, too cool and it doesn't cook properly. Feed the fire constantly. 8 a.m. Charles goes out to gather hay. He'll be gone for hours, wading through snow, twisting frozen prairie grass into bundles, hauling it back. It's back-breaking work in sub-zero temperatures. 8:30 a.m. You need water. The bucket from yesterday is frozen solid. You chip out the ice. You wrap yourself in every layer you own. You step outside into the screaming cold, walk to the well, break the ice, haul up the bucket, walk back, stopping every 20 steps because the bucket is so heavy and you're so weak. Get back inside. Your hands are numb. They hurt for an hour as feeling returns. 9:30 a.m. The bread is done. You remove it from the oven. It's dense and dark and will taste like nothing, but it's food. You set it aside to cool. 10 a.m. Time to twist hay. The fire never stops needing fuel. You sit at the table with a pile of dried grass and start twisting. Twist, twist, twist. Your hands are already sore. The grass cuts your palms. You develop blisters. The blisters pop. You keep twisting. 11 a.m. Feed the fire. Check on the children. Mary is sitting by the window, her hands folded, staring at nothing. Carrie is mending a dress. Grace is playing quietly with a wooden spoon. They're too quiet. Children shouldn't be this quiet. 12 p.m. Midday meal. Another slice of bread. More weak tea. No one is full. Grace asks for more. You say no. She cries. Your heart breaks. 1 p.m. More hay twisting. Your hands are bleeding now, but you can't stop. The fire needs constant feeding. You twist until your fingers cramp. 2 p.m. Laundry. You haven't washed clothes in 2 weeks because you can't spare the water or the fuel to heat it. But the smell is getting bad. So you heat water, which takes fuel. You scrub the clothes with lye soap, which burns your already damaged hands. You wring them out, which is agony. You hang them near the stove to dry. They'll take 2 days in this cold, damp air. 3:00 p.m. Feed the fire. Check the children. Prepare dinner, which is the same as breakfast and lunch, bread and weak tea. 4:00 p.m. Charles returns with hay. He's exhausted. His face is red from the cold. He warms himself by the fire. You serve him dinner. He eats in silence. 5:00 p.m. Evening. There's nothing to do. No books you haven't read a dozen times, no games that don't require energy no one has, no visitors because everyone else is trapped in their own homes. You sit by the fire, twisting more hay, and try to keep the children occupied. 6:00 p.m. Feed the fire. It's already dark outside. Has been dark for hours. Will be dark for many more hours. 7:00 p.m. Bedtime for the children. They're cold. You bundle them under quilts. Grace wants a story. You tell her one, the same one you told yesterday and the day before, because you're too tired to invent something new. She falls asleep in the middle. 8:00 p.m. You and Charles sit by the fire. Neither of you speaks. There's nothing left to say. He smokes his pipe, the last of the tobacco stretched thin. You twist more hay. 9:00 p.m. Bedtime. You bank the fire, adding enough hay to last a few hours, but not so much that you waste it. You crawl into bed. The sheets are cold. You curl against Charles for warmth. Grace is between you, her small body radiating heat you desperately need. You fall asleep. 2 a.m. You wake. The fire's burned low. You have to get up in the dark, in the freezing cold, and add more hay. You do this every night, sometimes twice a night. Your sleep is perpetually interrupted, and then it's 5 a.m. again, and you start over. The toll on your body. This work, this endless, relentless physical labour, is destroying you. Your hands are a disaster. Blisters, cuts, cracks in the skin that won't heal because you're malnourished and your body can't repair tissue properly. Your palms are calloused like leather, but even calluses have limits. The hay cuts through them. Your fingers are stiff and swollen. Your back aches constantly. From bending over the stove, from carrying water, from sitting in bad positions twisting hay, you've developed a chronic pain that never quite goes away, just varies in intensity. Your knees hurt. They crack when you stand. They ache when you walk. You're only 40, but you feel 70. You're exhausted in a way sleep doesn't fix. Deep bone-level exhaustion, the kind where your body is running on fumes and willpower. Your immune system is compromised from malnutrition and stress. Small cut that should heal in a few days takes weeks. A cold that should be minor becomes a chest infection that lingers for a month. You're aging rapidly. Stress does that. Starvation does that. This winter is taking years off your life. Years you won't get back even after it's over. The mental load. But the physical work isn't the hardest part. The mental load is what's truly crushing. You have to track everything. How much wheat is left, how much hay, how many days until you run out. You're constantly calculating, constantly planning, constantly trying to stretch insufficient resources further than they can reasonably go. You have to make decisions. Feed the fire now or wait an hour. Use water for laundry or save it for cooking. Give Grace a slightly larger portion or keep everyone exactly equal. These decisions seem small, but they're life or death. Make the wrong choice and someone suffers. Make too many wrong choices and someone dies. You're responsible for 6 people's survival, and you're doing it with tools and resources that are barely adequate. It's like trying to hold back a flood with your bare hands. The pressure is constant, it never lets up. You can't take a break. You can't say, I need a day off. You can't phone a friend or hire help or delegate tasks. It's all on you. And the worst part, no one sees this work. When people tell stories about the long winter, they talk about the blizzards, the cold, the wheat rescue. They don't talk about the 10 hours a day of hay twisting, the midnight fire feeding, the water carrying, the decision-making, the mental calculations. Your work is invisible, essential, but invisible. Would you survive? Let's say you could handle the cold. Let's say you could handle the hunger. Could you handle the work? Could you wake up at 5 a.m. every day for 7 months and perform hours of hard physical labour on minimal food? Could you twist hay until your hands bled, then twist more? Could you carry water through sub-zero temperatures day after day after day? Could you manage a household with no running water, no electricity, no modern conveniences of any kind? Could you cook on a wood stove, wash clothes by hand, make everything from scratch? Could you do all of this while starving, while freezing, while exhausted? Probably not. Most people couldn't. You'd try. You'd push yourself. But at some point, maybe 6 weeks in, maybe 10 weeks, your body would give out. You'd collapse while carrying water. Or you'd sleep through the alarm and let the fire die. Or you'd just sit down one day and be unable to make yourself stand up again. The work would break you. Not in one dramatic moment, but gradually, like water wearing away stone. Until one day you'd realise you just couldn't do it anymore. Caroline Ingalls kept going because she'd been doing this kind of work her entire life. Her body was adapted to it. Her mind was adapted to it. She'd built up 40 years of endurance and determination and sheer stubborn will. You haven't. And in the world of the long winter, that would probably kill you. It starts with Carrie. She wakes up one morning coughing. Not the dry, irritated cough everyone has from the hay smoke. A deep, wet cough that rattles in her chest. You touch her forehead. She's warm. Not burning up, not yet. But warmer than she should be. Her eyes are glassy. "I'm fine, Ma," she says. But she's not fine. You can tell. There's no doctor. The nearest physician is 40 miles away, and even if you could reach him, which you can't, not with the snow and the cold and the blizzards, what could he do? Medicine in 1881 is guesswork and prayer. You're on your own. The diseases that killed. Let's talk about what infections were like before antibiotics, because penicillin won't be discovered for another 47 years, and the bacteria that's making Carrie sick doesn't care about your lack of options. Pneumonia. That's what you're afraid of. An infection in the lungs. In 1881, pneumonia killed about 30% of people who contracted it. Children and the elderly were especially vulnerable. The symptoms start mild: cough, fever, fatigue. Then they escalate. Difficulty breathing, chest pain, coughing up phlegm that's yellow or green or rust-coloured. In severe cases, the lungs fill with fluid. The person drowns on dry land. There's no cure. You can provide supportive care, rest, fluids, warmth. But whether the person survives depends entirely on their immune system. Can their body fight off the infection? If yes, they might recover in 2 to 3 weeks. If no, they die. Carrie's immune system is compromised. She's been malnourished for months. Her body doesn't have the resources to mount a strong defence. You do what you can. You make her stay in bed, wrapped in quilts. You brew tea and make her drink it. You keep the room warm as you can manage with limited fuel. You sit with her, monitoring her breathing, watching for signs that she's getting worse. For 3 days, the fever climbs. Carrie shivers under the quilts, her teeth chattering. Her cough gets worse. You can hear the fluid in her lungs. She's struggling to breathe, each breath a laboured effort. You pray. What else can you do? On the 4th day, the fever breaks. Carrie is drenched in sweat, exhausted, but the worst is over. Her body fought off the infection, this time, but the experience leaves you shaken, because you know how close you came to losing her, and you know that next time, if there is a next time, you might not be so lucky. The infections that killed. Silently, pneumonia is obvious. You can see it, hear it in the rattling breath, the wet cough. But there are other infections that kill more quietly. Typhoid fever, spread through contaminated water. Symptoms include sustained high fever, weakness, stomach pains, headache, loss of appetite. It can last weeks. The mortality rate is around 10 to 20% without treatment. With a compromised immune system, higher. Dysentery, caused by bacteria in contaminated food or water. Symptoms include severe diarrhea, often bloody, abdominal pain, fever. It causes dangerous dehydration. In young children and weakened adults, it can be fatal in days. Scarlet fever, a bacterial infection that starts with a sore throat and fever, then develops into a distinctive red rash. It's highly contagious. Before antibiotics, it killed thousands of children every year. Complications included rheumatic fever, kidney damage, and sometimes death. You're terrified of all of these. You're careful with water, boiling it before drinking, even though you don't fully understand why this helps. You're careful with food preparation, but careful isn't foolproof. Mary already had scarlet fever years ago. It damaged her eyes. She's going blind from it. If she gets sick again, it could kill her. The lack of pain relief, let's say. Carrie's illness had been worse. Let's say she was in severe pain, chest pain, abdominal pain, headache so intense she couldn't think. What could you do? Laudanum. That's about it. Laudanum is a tincture of opium, basically liquid opium dissolved in alcohol. It's the go-to pain reliever in 1881. It's also highly addictive, causes drowsiness and confusion, and can be fatal in overdose. But it's all you have. You don't have aspirin, that won't be commercially available until 1899. You don't have ibuprofen or acetaminophen. You don't have morphine in a controlled measured dose. You have laudanum, and you have to guess at the dosage because there are no standardized measurements. Give too little, and the person suffers. Give too much, and you might kill them. So you avoid it unless absolutely necessary. You let people suffer through pain because the alternative, addiction or accidental overdose, is worse. The injuries that became deadly Charles is gathering hay. He slips on ice. He falls hard. When he comes back inside, he's limping. His ankle is swollen. Is it broken? Sprained? You can't tell. There's no X-ray machine. You probe it gently with your fingers, trying to feel if the bones are intact. Charles winces but says he's fine. You wrap it in cloth. You tell him to stay off it. But he can't stay off it. Someone has to gather hay, fetch water, check on the neighbours. So he keeps working, and the ankle doesn't heal properly. 6 weeks later, he's still limping. The ankle never quite recovered. He'll have a permanent weakness there, a chronic ache that flares up in cold weather. That's the best case scenario. Worst case? The injury becomes infected. Maybe Charles had a small cut on his ankle when he fell. Maybe bacteria got in. The skin around the injury turns red, then swollen, then hot to the touch. Red streaks appear. Lymphangitis, blood poisoning. The infection is spreading. Without antibiotics, this could kill him. The infection could reach his bloodstream, causing sepsis. His organs would start shutting down. He'd develop a high fever, become confused, slip into unconsciousness, and there would be nothing you could do except watch him die. The dental horrors. Laura has a toothache. It started 2 weeks ago, a dull ache in one of her molars. Now it's worse. The tooth is throbbing. The side of her face is swollen. It's an abscess, an infection in the tooth root. It's incredibly painful. In 2025, a dentist would prescribe antibiotics and perform a root canal or extract the tooth. Problem solved. In 1881, your options are limited. You can try clove oil. It has mild analgesic properties. It might numb the pain slightly. Emphasis on slightly. You can try hot compresses to reduce the swelling, and if the pain becomes unbearable, you extract the tooth with pliers. No anesthesia except maybe whiskey. Charles holds Laura down while you grip the tooth with pliers and pull. She screams. The tooth comes out, eventually, along with a lot of blood. Now she has an open wound in her mouth. You hope it doesn't get infected. You hope the abscess was contained in the tooth and didn't spread to her jaw. You hope. If the infection was deeper, if it spread to the bone, she could develop osteomyelitis, bone infection. That's often fatal. The infection spreads through the blood bone, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Would you survive? Let's be realistic. In 7 months of close quarters living, with compromised immune systems from malnutrition, with inadequate hygiene from limited water, someone in your family would get seriously ill. Maybe it's pneumonia, maybe it's dysentery, maybe it's an infected wound that turns septic. Could you nurse them through it? Could you watch them suffer knowing there's nothing you can do except provide comfort and hope their body is strong enough to fight? And if they didn't survive? If you watched your child die from an infection that modern medicine could cure with a 10-day course of antibiotics, could you live with that? Carolyn Ingalls had practice. She'd already lost one child, baby Freddie, who died in infancy. She knew what it was like to bury a child. That knowledge didn't make it easier, but it gave her a framework for coping. You don't have that framework. You've never had to accept that children sometimes die from preventable causes. You've never had to watch someone suffer without being able to help. The psychological trauma alone might break you, and that's assuming you survived your own illnesses, because you're just as vulnerable as everyone else. More vulnerable, actually, because you're the primary caregiver. You're exposed to everyone's germs, you're not getting enough rest or food, and your immune system is shot. If you got seriously ill, who would care for you? Who would manage the household? Who would feed the fire, cook the meals, care for the children? The whole fragile system depends on you staying functional. And in the world of the long winter, that's far from guaranteed. It's March now. You've been trapped inside for 5 months. 5 months of the same walls, the same faces, the same crushing routine. 5 months of cold and hunger and fear. You're starting to forget what the outside world looks like. Not the snow, you've seen plenty of snow, but green grass, trees in full leaf, the smell of flowers. These things feel like dreams, like memories from someone else's life. You catch yourself staring at nothing, just sitting by the stove, hands idle, mind blank. Minutes pass, maybe hours. You don't know. Time has stopped meaning anything. Laura asks you a question. You don't hear her. She asks again. You look at her, this thin, hollow-eyed girl who used to be your daughter, and for a moment you can't remember her name. That's when you realize you're losing your mind. Prairie madness wasn't a myth. They called it prairie madness, prairie fever, the sickness that came from isolation, from endless horizons, from too much space and not enough human connection. It afflicted frontier women disproportionately, women trapped on remote homesteads, women who went weeks without seeing another adult, women who shouldered the crushing weight of keeping families alive in impossible conditions. The symptoms varied. Some women became withdrawn, silent, staring at walls for hours. Some became frantic, talking constantly to fill the oppressive quiet. Some stopped caring about their appearance. The same dress for weeks, unwashed hair, hollow eyes. Some turned violent, lashing out at their children, their husbands, themselves. In extreme cases, women walked out into blizzards and didn't come back. Sometimes they were found frozen a mile from home, their faces peaceful, as if they'd finally found the escape they were seeking. Sometimes they weren't found until spring thaw revealed their bodies. You understand the impulse now. The door is right there. You could open it, step outside, walk into the white emptiness. The cold would take you in minutes. No more hunger, no more fear, no more relentless, crushing responsibility. It would be so easy. The breaking point, Grace won't stop crying. She's hungry, always hungry, and you've already given her the only food there is. But she doesn't understand. She's 3. She just knows her stomach hurts and Mama should fix it. Shh, baby, shh. Your voice sounds strange, flat, like it's coming from someone else. Grace keeps crying. The sound drills into your skull. You want to comfort her. You want to hold her close and sing her a lullaby and make everything better. But you can't, because nothing is better. Nothing will be better. This is your life now, forever. Please stop crying, you say. Your hands are shaking. Grace cries harder. Something inside you snaps. I said stop! The words tear out of your throat. Your voice is too loud, too harsh. Grace's face crumples. She's terrified. Of you! The room goes silent. Charles stares at you. Laura stares at you. Even Mary, who can barely see, turns her face toward you with an expression of shock. You scared your child. You, the mother, the protector, the one who's supposed to keep everyone safe and calm, just screamed at a 3-year-old for being hungry. You stand up, walk to the far corner of the room, all 15 feet of it. Press your forehead against the cold wall. Your whole body is shaking. Caroline. Charles's voice is soft, careful, like he's approaching a wounded animal. You can't look at him. If you look at him, you'll shatter completely. The weight you can't carry. Here's what nobody tells you about being the mother, the caretaker, the emotional centre of a family in crisis. You don't get to break. Everyone else can be scared, hungry, exhausted, despairing, but not you. You're the anchor. If you sink, everyone drowns. So you push everything down, every fear, every moment of despair. Every time you want to scream or cry or just stop existing for a while, you swallow it all and keep going. But it doesn't disappear. It accumulates, week after week, month after month. The fear piles up inside you until there's no room left. Until one small thing, a crying child, a burnt loaf, a door that sticks, becomes the thing that finally breaks you. You're experiencing that now. The accumulated weight of 5 months of crisis management, 5 months of making impossible decisions, stretching inadequate resources, maintaining hope you don't feel, 5 months of being strong for everyone else while you're dying inside, and you're starting to understand why some women walked into the snow. Not because they were weak, because they were carrying more than any human being can carry, and their minds found the only escape available. The choice you make. Every day, Charles approaches slowly, puts his hand on your shoulder. Caroline, look at me. You turn. His face is gaunt. His eyes are hollow. He looks like he's aged 20 years and 5 months. But there's something else there. Recognition. He knows. He sees what this is doing to you. We're going to make it, he says. The wheat will last. Spring will come. We'll make it. You want to believe him? God, you want to believe him? But you don't. Not really. Still. You nod. You take a breath. You walk back to Grace and pick her up, holding her close, murmuring apologies she's too young to fully understand. Because that's what you do. You break, and then you stand up again. You reach the end of your endurance, and then you find a little more somewhere. You think you can't possibly keep going, and then you go anyway. Not because you're strong, because the alternative is unthinkable. Would you survive your own mind? Physical survival is hard, but mental survival is harder. Could you stay sane through 5 months of isolation, starvation, and fear? Could you hold yourself together when every day is exactly like the last and you can't see an end? Could you be the strong one when you're falling apart inside? Could you comfort your children when you're terrified? Could you maintain hope when you have none? Laura Ingalls did it, but it cost her. These months left scars that never fully healed. Nightmares, anxiety, a permanent fear of winter that she carried for the rest of her life. You wouldn't survive this. Not mentally, you'd break earlier, harder, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. The human mind has limits. The long winter exceeded them. May 10th, 1881. You hear it before you see it. A whistle, distant, growing louder. The train. Everyone in De Smet runs into the street. People are laughing, crying, hugging each other. Some are on their knees praying. The train, the first train in 4.5 months, is coming. You stand in the doorway, Grace in your arms, and watch the black smoke appear on the horizon. It's real. It's actually real. Help is coming. Food is coming. The isolation is ending. You don't cry. You're too exhausted to cry. You just watch that train roll into town and feel empty, relieved, but empty. Because you made it. All 6 of you. You survived the long winter, but you'll never be the same. The cost of survival. The train brings food. Real food. Flour, meat, sugar, coffee, dried fruit. The first meal you cook with real ingredients tastes like heaven, but your stomach can barely handle it after months of coarse bread. You eat slowly. So do the children. Your bodies have forgotten how to process actual nutrition. The warm weather comes fast. Too fast. The snow melts in days, flooding the prairie, washing away the evidence of winter. Within weeks, grass is growing again. Flowers bloom. Birds return. It's like the winter never happened. Except you know it happened. Your body knows. You're 20 pounds lighter than you were in October. Your hands are scarred from months of twisting hay. Your joints ache. Your hair is thinner. You look in the mirror and see a woman who's aged a decade. The children are different too. Grace is quieter than she used to be. The bright, chattering 3-year-old has been replaced by someone more subdued, more watchful. Carrie has stopped growing properly. The malnutrition stunted her. Laura has a hardness in her eyes that wasn't there before. Mary's blindness is worsening. Charles tries to return to normal. He works the claim, plants crops, makes plans. But you see how he checks the sky constantly, how he flinches at the sound of wind, how he stocks supplies obsessively, even in summer, preparing for a winter that's months away. This is what survival costs. Not just the physical toll, but the psychological scars, the permanent fear, the inability to ever feel truly safe again. What history forgot. When people tell the story of the long winter, they focus on the drama, the blizzards, the cold, Almanzo and Cap's heroic wheat rescue. These are the parts that make good stories. What they don't talk about is what came after. The families who left De Smet as soon as spring came, too traumatized to stay. The marriages that broke under the strain. The children who died from malnutrition-related illnesses in the following months. The women who were never quite right again, who jumped at loud noises and hoarded food and couldn't bear to be alone. They don't talk about you. About Caroline Ingalls, the 41-year-old woman who kept 6 people alive through 7 months of hell through sheer force of will, who sacrificed her own health, her own sanity, her own needs to keep her family functioning. History remembers Charles as the hard-working provider. It remembers Laura as the plucky daughter who helped grind wheat. It barely remembers you at all. But without you, none of them would have survived. You were the infrastructure that kept everything running, the unseen labour that made survival possible, the emotional anchor when everyone else was adrift. The woman who endured you lived another 43 years after the long winter. You saw your daughters grow up, marry, have children of their own. You saw De Smet transform from a desperate frontier settlement into an actual town. You saw the railroad become reliable, bringing goods and connection and security. But you never forgot. You never stopped preparing for the worst. Every fall you stocked extra supplies. Every winter, even mild ones, you watched the weather with fear in your heart. The long winter lived inside you forever, a permanent resident in your nightmares. You died in 1924, at age 84, in your sleep. A peaceful death. Natural causes. After surviving the long winter, after enduring decades more of frontier hardship, you finally got to rest. Your daughter Laura wrote about you, about the long winter, but even her words couldn't fully capture what it was like. How could they? How do you put into words the slow grind of starvation, the soul-crushing weight of responsibility, the daily choice between giving up and pushing forward? You can't. Some experiences are beyond words. They live in the body, in the bones, in the parts of us that don't forget even when we want to. The final truth. So, would you survive being Ma Ingalls during the long winter? No, you wouldn't, and we both know why. Not because you're weak, not because you lack courage, but because Caroline Ingalls spent 40 years building the skills, the endurance, the psychological architecture necessary to survive an ordeal like that. She'd done hard winters before. She'd faced starvation before. She'd buried children and rebuilt her life, and kept going when most people would have quit. You haven't. You've lived in a world of abundance and safety and modern medicine. You've never had to haul water through 40 below cold. You've never had to watch your children slowly starve. You've never had to twist hay until your hands bled just to keep a fire burning. Those aren't failures, they're privileges. You're lucky you've never had to learn those skills, but luck doesn't translate to survival. When the blizzards hit, when the trains stop, when the food runs out, you need more than luck. You need a lifetime of hard-won knowledge. You need a body adapted to brutal labour. You need a mind that can endure the unendurable. Caroline Ingalls had those things. She survived. At great cost, she survived. You wouldn't. But tonight, you don't have to. You can close your eyes, safe in your warm bed, grateful for central heating and full refrigerators, and the fact that you'll never ever have to find out how you'd measure up. Sleep well. And maybe, just maybe, spare a thought. For the 40-year-old woman who kept her family alive through 7 months of frozen hell, who did the impossible because there was no other choice, she deserves to be remembered